Hello guys, my name is Cristian Castaño. I'm a freediving athlete from Colombia and I'm also part of the Alchemy team. And today I'm going to be talking about a very important topic for our freediving training, which is visualization. And I'm going to focus this topic mainly to apply for when we're going to do our deep dives or deep training or also competitive freediving. Visualization is a technique that is part of sports psychology, and it's a technique in which we are trying to basically alter the outer life and the outside with our mind perception, right? And with it, we have certain goals which are to gain a lot of concentration power, and we're gonna also it's gonna also help us to reduce stress, and it's also gonna help us to do in a more mechanic way and like in an automatic or natural way all the actions that we're gonna have that we have planned or that we don't want to miss in our dives. Yeah. So the goal will be to put that systematically in our minds, but also do it in a very fluent and relaxed way. So that's how visualizations will help us because we're gonna ingrain it in the brain, and we're gonna think for the brain it's kind of like if we actually had done the dive, if we had visualized it. Yes. So it doesn't make a difference between reality and what we are thinking. Is the power? It's all about the power of the mind. A lot of people think that in order to visualize or to imagine that you're doing a deep dive, you have to be holding your breath. And my recommendation will be to start without holding the breath. We're just gonna try to do it in a very relaxed way. We can do it in our bed. We can also use a yoga mat, or we can lay wherever we feel very comfortable. And only thinking in a lot of silence, we're gonna start by thinking of the whole steps of the dive. And it's important to start from the very moment that you are preparing, that you are arriving the dive site. Maybe if you're in a competition, it will be good to imagine all the things that are going to be surrounding you in the competition. Like, for example, the photographers, the judges, the safety team. Even think about the countdown that you're going to be listening to in order to put all these aspects and to be ready for the moment that you're in the actual competition, preparing for that dive. After that, it will be good to start thinking about all the steps and to try not to forget any of the steps that you have to do in your dive. Like, for example, in my personal case, I do countdown of how many pulls I have to do, let's say if I'm doing the discipline of free immersion, until the point that I reach the free fall or the point where I have to take my mouth feel. So it's important to add those things and to know when you're gonna do it, to not forget when you're actually doing the dive, because if you are really relaxed when you're doing deep diving, you might forget those things. And that will be the case when you don't use alarms. Like in my personal case, I don't like to use alarms, so I like to know where I am. So I count and I know when I'm gonna do those things. Then it will be good to go through the free fall phase as well, thinking about body position and relaxation a lot. And also think about how you're gonna do your turn, how you're gonna grab the tag, and how you're gonna start the ascent, either kicking, pulling, and do the whole dive until you reach the surface. And once you reach the surface, it will be very important to add as well the recovery breaths and the surface protocol, because we want to put those things automatically in our brain so we react. If we, in a case that we are a little bit low on oxygen, we're gonna react by doing the proper protocol and breathing properly so we avoid any problems like a blackout or a samba or something like that. When I first started doing these kinds of visualization exercises, I lay down in the yoga mat and I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna go for a PV, I'm gonna go for a deep dive. And I realized that it's so powerful, the mind, that just even I was not even going to hold my breath, but my heart rate, and I knew I wasn't going to hold my breath, but I was so into the image of this moment that my heart rate started to increase. And I felt my heart rate going really, really fast just by laying down in a yoga mat. So I realized it's very important as well that when you're doing this visualization, to do it in a positive way. Yeah, to think this is gonna be a very deep dive. This is gonna be maybe my PV, maybe this is gonna be my competition maximum, but it's gonna be a great dive. All the sensations, all the emotions, all the feelings that I'm gonna have in my dive are gonna be awesome. And then you're gonna start to change and to prepare your mind and to make your mind believe that the emotions and feelings and sensations you're gonna have in your dive are gonna be great. so that the day that you're actually in the competition or preparing or doing your deep diving, that's how you're gonna be feeling. So we're gonna kind of like trick the brain to expect and to hope for something good. Because a lot of the mental problems of our dives is like the expectations and the fears or the nervousness or the problems that we think might happen before our dive, and that's what's going to stop us, and that's what's going to make the equalization be harder. That's what's going to bring tension. That's what's going to create all the other problems, and then we blame on, oh, I ate really bad yesterday, but it's all pretty much in the mind, because we know freediving is basically a mental sport, right? So I'm gonna tell you the story of how I first started doing these visualization exercises. It happened to me when I was in Honduras in 2019. I was in Roatan and I was preparing for the World Championship. I went there with, I was working there, and I had, after working, I had 1 month to prepare for the World Championship when I was not working. And right before I started my preparation, when I was going to start training, I went to the doctor because I had a pain in my abdomen, and it turned out I had appendicitis, and the problem was that my appendix burst. So because it burst, I had to stay in the hospital for 10 days and then another 20 days that the doctor said you cannot go in the water. And that was exactly the amount of time I had to train before the World Championship. But I was going to be there anyway. So I could not go in the water, I could not do any kind of training, not even breathing or breath hold training. So all I had in my hands in order to do anything at the World Championship was visualization. So I did it. I started doing it every day. I did it in the morning because I had a lot of time. I was doing it in the afternoon, maybe 2-3 times a day. And like I mentioned before, I was laying down in the yoga mat in a very relaxed way, and I was not even holding my breath. I tried to alter and to think about how everything was going to feel in a really positive and good way by the day that I was in the competition. And just a few days before the competition, I asked the doctor if I could go back in the water, and they said it's okay. I saw all my wounds were closed, and I only had 1 day to train before the actual competition. I went down there. I did a dive of like around 40 meters just to check everything was okay, and I was not going to have any big problems from free diving. And the first day, I announced something that was very close to my PB. At the moment, it was 85 meters what I announced. My PB was 87, so it was very, very close. And I thought it was going to be maybe a fail dive beforehand, but I was trying to just say, okay, let's go and try and see how it goes. All I had in my hands was the visualization, and my body was definitely not ready, not very ready for that kind of diving, but my mind was super ready. And what happened in the competition was that when I arrived at the official line and my official top time came, I was completely relaxed. Because of all the visualization I had done, it was completely normal for my mind to be there in that moment. So I had zero nervous, zero stress, and I was thinking, okay, if I make it, it's great. If I don't make it, it's fine as well, because I haven't dived at all. And I had one of the best and most amazing dives I've ever done in my life. It was a perfect dive with no problems of equalization, nothing wrong. Came to the surface completely clean and got a white card. Yeah. So this story is just to tell you basically that it does work, right? It did work for me, and just with the mental part. But also, of course, I don't want to leave behind the physical part. At one point, after doing so many dives, because it was a whole week of competition, it was the Caribbean Cup, and then after that was the World Championship. After many dives and putting my body into a lot of stress and repetition of dives, I had a blackout on the last day. But I did make, even on the last day, I was completely calm and good mentally to do my dive. It was just that my body at that point was not ready for all the physical effort as well. So we do need to keep the body a little bit, keep it up with the mind, yeah? Because normally it's the other way around. We train a lot the body, and the mind, we just let it go and see how it goes and don't work on that so much. So we do have to work on the mind a lot, because it's our main tool actually for free diving. So like I said, the good way to start doing visualization will be to do it without holding your breath, just relaxing on the bed. But as part of my training, I started to change that as well a little bit. And after reaching this point of relaxation, after so much visualization and repetition of my dives, I started doing breath holds, but also doing it in a very calm way and trying to I found that my breath holds, my static breath holds, become longer when I use visualization and when I imagine my deep dives. So kind of like deep diving became my happy place for static, right? And it has helped. It has improved as well. I've improved a lot my performance. And then another tip I would like to give you that can really help you to prepare to how actually the dive is going to be could be to record yourself. So if you record yourself and you tell yourself through all the phases and steps of your dive, from the first pulls, from the first kick, from the duck dive actually, passing through the mouthfeel charge, to the recharge, then to the free fall phase, with the actual time that you know is gonna take you to reach those points. Even if your dive takes just 3 minutes and you can hold your breath, I don't know, for 5 minutes, you just do the breath hold for 5 to set it and put it in your brain with the actual time, doing the turn, doing all the way up, and talking to yourself more or less how you're gonna talk to yourself when you're doing your dive. Yeah, and it can really help you and put like systematically all the information and all the actions that you have to do, so you don't make any mistakes. And like I said, really important as well to keep recovery breaths as part of visualization, so you can save, maybe in the case of Samba or close to a blackout, you save it and you manage to breathe properly and do a proper surface protocol. So that's it, guys. That's how visualization helped me. I hope this helps you a little bit, and I'll see you next time. Ciao.